Anna Nicole Smith was a Playboy model who married a billionaire. She had this really crazy, tumultuous life and then had all of it taken away when she passed away at a very young and early age. I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. So, she was born the 28th of November, 1967, and she came from a pretty poor, maybe average background, but she by no means came from anything amazing. She eventually started modeling, and she did some pretty good stuff. She was doing some modeling work for Guess, and then H&M, and then eventually got to Playboy. And this is in the 90s, right, when Playboy was a big deal. In 1991, she was working as a stripper when she met J. Howard Marshall. He was a billionaire, a tycoon from the petroleum industry. This is him. My gosh, you're sexy. I mean, he was worth $2 billion, right? I would marry this old guy. Look at him, bro. So eventually they meet, right? She's a stripper. She does a little bit of a dance for him, and the two of them fall in love. They start dating, and eventually they get married in 1994 when she was 26 and he was 90. Obviously, people came forward and they said, listen, look at this. This is all just for the money, right? She's doing it for the money. And she totally denied this. She said that she was in love with him and that he was an amazingly beautiful human being and that she can see a very long future with him living up until he's about 307. Eventually, luckily for her, the next year he passed away in 1995. So he was 91. And she was happy. No, okay, she wasn't happy, right? But I can imagine that she's like, sweet, I'm getting all this money. He's worth $2 billion. And apparently he promised her, when he dies in exchange for marriage, she will get half of his $2 billion estate. However, when it kind of came down to it, she was not in his will. He had never changed it, you sneaky old devil. Oh, you must be spinning around in your grave. And then there was this big legal battle that obviously now commenced from 1995 up until the day that she passed away, where she said, no way, I'm entitled to that money. He told me I was entitled to it. And the government system was like, well, you're not, because there's nothing that stipulates this. Otherwise, anybody can say that. There's a lot more moving parts to it, but you know what I mean, right? Eventually, she was awarded $445 million, which was worked out to be the interest that was earned on his fortune, wherever it was sitting, during the period that they were married. Bro, $445 million. I'd be happy with that. I'd be like, sweet. I didn't mind kissing that old guy. I didn't mind him touching me. For $445 million, that's no problem. I will happily deal with that. But then, at the last minute, court overrules the decision and it gets taken away. That obviously sent her into this massive depression, right? Massive spiral. She was supposed to get $445 million and set her and her family up for generational wealth. But then in the end, she doesn't. So, she kind of becomes famous at this point, right? She is still a model. She's acting in some pretty shoddy type of movies, but she's still famous, okay? And this is where things take a little bit of a turn. She becomes super popular in Hollywood, and she has a son by the name of Daniel Smith, who was born many, many years ago from a previous marriage when she was 16 years old. And in 2006, he passes away from a drug overdose. Now, that completely destroys her, as you can imagine. Listen to this. This is the first-hand testimony right after he died. Anna Nicole Smith was devastated over her son's death. Anna and Daniel were inseparable. Daniel was without question the most important person in Anna's life. At Daniel's funeral, she had them open the coffin and try to climb inside. Ah! She said that if Daniel has to be buried, I want to be buried with him. She was ready to go down. That is so sad. Now, I don't want to say a scary or macabre turn, but I've seen that happen. I've seen a mom lose her son and freak out at the funeral. It's obviously very difficult, right? And she's up until this point not had an easy life. She's by no means rich at this point. Yes, she's popular in Hollywood, but she's starring in these really low budget movies. She's by no means rich. Still got a ton of court fees to pay off, and she's probably about $1 million in terms of net worth, which is still sizable, but it is not huge. She kind of becomes what some people would call unhealthy, and she doesn't take too well care of herself. And eventually she becomes like the butt of the joke for a bunch of people in Hollywood, right? Tabloid magazines are going crazy about the fact that this poor woman who's just lost her son is picking up weight. And the tabloids are going crazy about the fact that she, used to be this really attractive woman. Now she looks so different. She eventually goes on Howard Stern. Now, this is something that I wanted to kind of chat about. She goes on Howard Stern. And for some reason, Howard Stern thinks it's appropriate to try and weigh her because of how much weight that she's picked up. Let's just watch a couple of minutes of this because, my homes, this shit is whack.
All right, listen. You put yourself out there. You're doing the show. Of course people are going to comment on your life. And I said, I'll repeat what I said earlier, that the way you dress and stuff, I don't think you're aware that you're a heavy-set woman. That's what I said.
I know I'm a big woman, so what?
So I was guessing your weight. And I was going to say to you today, can you please get on the scale, and then we'll have an over-under. That's all.
Dude,
no.
You can't say that.
I'm not going to get on the scale if you got to weigh me.
If you get on the scale, I'm serious.
Why would you want me to get on the scale?
I'll tell you why.
So you could humiliate me?
No, that's not humiliating. I think you should be proud of what you weigh.
It's extremely humiliating.
Really
Howard J. Stern.
Why are women, when Anna Nicole is so liberated, why is Anna Nicole embarrassed to say how much she weighs?
Oh, bro. Meth, Weird Al Yankovic, Howard Stern.
Pop jokes from you.
What?
All I hear is more jokes and more slander.
No, not slander.
From you.
I'm not going to slander you.
Stupid.
I want to prove. I will put $1,000 in your college, the college fund for your child.
I'll tell you what, Howard. I'll add another $2,000 courtesy of i1.com, and
this is another child, by the way. She had
$3,000 for her son's college fund, and I will throw in for her son because I know he likes the game. I'll throw in an Xbox.
All right, for your son.
Not enough.
If we weigh you now, I'll give you $3,000 courtesy of i1.com and Trim Spa,
nope.
Plus an Xbox for your son.
Nope, not enough.
He already has an Xbox.
That's so disgusting, man. I don't want to watch any more of that because it's really gross. But how disgusting. Thinking that you can humiliate this poor woman who's obviously been through a lot up until this point for an Xbox. Damn, Howard Stern, bro. So in the end, February 8th, 2007, right? Pretty much the day or the day before that she's about to turn 40. I guess she was technically still 39. She is found dead in her room at the Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, California. She had died from a combination of something called chloral hydrate, which is just like sleeping medication, mixed with benzodiazepines and Valium. You've got this beautiful woman who went through so much in her life, and then in the end, she dies broke, lonely, and I can imagine pretty darn sad.